Tag you in.
Headphones.
Stephanie and Carter, tag in. Whew.
That light right there.
Yeah.
The boy can't correct on this. Ganders. Children. Delivery. Special delivery. Special delivery. Special delivery. What's going on, sis?
Hey.
We about to go live and discussing some real topics. What's poppin', cousin? Angela, what's happening, sis? Katie, I see you. Stay tuned. We about to get hot up in here. We on this podcast. And this go around, I want you to feel free to tap in. Questions, topics.
You want the water?
Please.
Some water?
You can't hear it on here. Special delivery. Special delivery. Special delivery. Hey, moms. You might want to stay tuned. It's about to go down. Here with my sis, the missus, Stephanie Carter.
Hey, hey.
You want to let them know where to tune in at on that podcast?
Oh, yeah, this is the Lounge Talk podcast. We're getting ready to go in, getting ready to record. You can find us on the hosting site is podomatic.com. You can listen to us also on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and anywhere you like to listen to your podcast too. Type in the Lounge Talk Radio and we'll pop up. You'll see me and El Boogie, that's the DJ, and also my husband.
That's right.
And you'll see us, and this is episode 83 that we're getting ready to do. So tune in, subscribe, tell a friend, and it's just everyday real talk from real people, getting it in, trying to build and be better.
Real talk is hot. Nikki, I see you. The subject matter is totally in depth. It's going to get fired. We're going to discuss all kinds of different aspects of everything. You never know. Who we got there? Monisha. What's poppin'? Laquan, what's going down? Y'all can't hear it right now, but we on this Nipsey. Real tough. You see, I got my Nipsey blue on. It's a bigger picture. It's a bigger cause.
And you're listening to the Lounge Talk Podcast, episode number 83 with your girl Ann Carter, DJ L Boogie. And back in the building, we have our brother, what his name is? Brother
a.k.a. Mr. Mo.
Mr. Mo. Mr. Mo, welcome back to the lounge. We had you here, I want to say it was episode 50 or 51. It was the soul food episode. Yeah, it was a soul food episode. So welcome back, brother. It's always good to see you. It's always a pleasure.
Definitely,
Have you?
definitely a blessing to be here around my real family.
Yeah, man. Thank you for not clowning me for the burnt crust on the pizza that you had a little while ago, because got that good Costco pizza and stuck it in the oven, and
Yeah, the
I
spot.
guess I was a little slow to getting back to that oven, because boy, he was a little crusty on the bottom, but
Believe me, I
still
tell you,
ate
it was the
'em.
spot. It was on point.
Yeah, man. So we still been really feeling this heavy loss of Nipsey Hussle, man. Last night we were just playing all Nipsey everything, had his videos playing, and man, and I know you talked to Boog earlier in the week,
Right.
like, I want to come through so we can talk about this great loss and also some other things as far as what we need to do as a people.
Right.
We keep talking about it, but we got to put it into action.
Right.
And something that you said earlier really stuck with me. You said that we need to learn how to outsmart our old self.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Elaborate on that a little bit.
So, again, even before we get started, I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be on such a platform, the opportunity to be in a position to share with my folks, and I appreciate and I send my condolences out, specifically during this season of Nipsey Hussle, his family,
Absolutely.
his wife,
Man.
his daughter, his son, his brothers, his mother, his grandmother, because it's bigger than what we just see,
Yeah.
right? And so when I speak about outsmarting ourselves or our old selves is and overcoming our old selves is it's a lot of times we think about starting a business or introducing ourselves to us or accepting spirituality and the growth that comes along with it. Sometimes people get lost in that situation, or sometimes people tend to hold on to their old selves.
Right.
But it comes a point in time where the challenge becomes not being or not reacting. Maturity comes from not reacting on the part of yourself that wasn't lost.
Right.
Not reacting on that. So instead of going upside somebody's head, get to a point where when you feel like that, you train yourself to really communicate with a person in a way that you can have a positive impact on them,
Right.
and be teaching yourself something all at the same time. But it's
Right.
a daily situation.
Right. And that's a whole new mindset, though. That's not something that you can just, okay, I'm going to try not to trip today on this person, or I'm going to try not to flash today. You got to really be looking at the bigger picture, your life as a whole, and the lives that you affect as a whole, and learn how to choose better.
Absolutely.
You have to choose better thoughts first.
Absolutely.
So how do you get there?
So I can speak for self, and I know in this way that it can apply to anybody. It's a way that you can apply it to yourself. When you keep in mind what's important to you on a daily basis,
Right.
and you set your mind to that when you start your day off, no matter what you go through, it kind of allows you to stay on that same agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, when I wake up, I know for one that my goal during the day is for myself is to not only conduct myself in a way that's pleasing to the Lord, but then conduct myself in a way to where it represents what I represent just as a man,
Right.
even in my imperfections.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And so for some it's just considered meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For some it's considered goals.
Mm-hmm.
Or goal planning daily, like strategizing daily.
Right.
Like when you wake up saying, this is what I want to accomplish today.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it starts off in there.
Right.
And you can no one is given more than a day for day. So it's not like you have to go
Right.
a month ahead of time. You just everything starts with today. Being the
Right.
best me today.
Right.
Making the best choices that I know how today.
Right. Well, that absolutely includes love of self first, because, man, too many people with the way you acting, you can't have enough love for yourself to be making some of those choices, or knowledge of self, or whatever it is. So you got to do a little bit of self work first before you even get to the point where you feel that there's some value in doing the things that you just said.
Right.
Because there's so many people just lost.
Yeah. And so many challenges.
And so many challenges,
Right.
and so many things getting thrown at you left and right. Just you feel like it's obstacle after obstacle, and you know, like as soon as I take a step forward, I get pushed 2 steps back. So now what?
Right.
You know, finding it hard to even get up and be positive
Absolutely.
in the morning.
Absolutely.
So, where do we start?
Again, some folks will tell you, you know, you start up. Some people write things on a piece of paper and tape it on their mirror. It says today is going to be a productive day.
Right.
Some people get up and they relate their daily scriptures, right, that encourage them to move in a particular direction as it pertains to positivity.
Right.
And you just kind of, you know, when it comes, I believe at this stage of my life, when it comes to being successful and not giving up on yourself, because we really can't depend on other people.
No.
There comes a point in time where you got to learn to motivate yourself, right? And a lot of those times, the person or the people or the influences aren't other people, but your prior self, the way that we've been groomed,
Right.
that we've groomed ourselves how to make certain decisions.
Right.
So it's like, you know what? When I wake up today, this is my plans for the day. And a lot of times, simple planning, it just, even in our imperfections, it allows our life. When you, it's like knowing the direction you're going. If you know for a fact that you want to be headed east, and you set your GPS to head east, even if you don't end up in your destination, you're going in the right direction.
In the right direction. Right.
I see that as a metaphor for life as well.
Absolutely.
And that's the best we
Absolutely.
have.
And you know, all of us are capable of having a bigger vision and a clearer vision. We need to learn how to not be afraid of that vision or think that we're incapable of getting there, because I know that we hold ourselves back. I can speak for myself.
Right.
That I sometimes hold myself back for, you know, fear. Like, say we want to look into opening our own businesses, and we're like, oh, what if it fails? And that'd be enough to stop the effort. But you don't even know, because you didn't even get out there and say, let me learn some things and figure out what I can do. You know, following Nipsey's roadmap of ownership.
Absolutely.
Know? And we got to learn to get past that too.
Absolutely.
Need to have more faith, more consistency.
Or as he would say, determination.
Determination, dedication.
Yeah, dedication.
Yeah, dedication. Yeah.
That's a serious subject, and it's in reality, I believe that no matter what it is that we strive to be successful at, that we have to maintain a certain level of dedication at that.
Absolutely.
You know, the same way when you look back at any decisions that we made, whether it's, let's just say for an example, an unhealthy relationship, when you actually learn from an unhealthy relationship, you look back at it and you say, I did a whole lot to stay in that relationship.
Right.
I put in a lot of work. I did this wrong, I did that wrong, I disobeyed this person, I went against my mom, I went against my dad, I started cutting school.
Oh.
I put
been there.
Right? And so the truth is it is possible to use that same dedication, right? And to self-motivate, and to, in this case, as we're speaking about today, use someone like Nipsey Hussle as an example of a person who, no matter the circumstances, no matter what people say about you,
right,
you continue to motivate and dedicate yourself to being a better person,
right,
in order to help out the people that, not only your own family, but the people that you influence.
right, right.
And it's a challenge. We're all capable of succeeding in that challenge.
Right. Man. So what else we got going on? We could talk about this it's important to keep talking about it.
Agreed.
Just because with Nipsey just passing, you know, I'm seeing a lot online from a lot of people posting and being inspired, and happy to see that 99% of that is positive. What you seeing there?
Oh, I got my uncle Carl on here. He said we have to learn ourselves so we can love our brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. Thank you, Unc.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Definitely starts with self,
Yeah.
without question.
And also leaning on the knowledge of our elders and the ancestors that came before us. Man, there's so much wisdom and so much to be learned. We need to learn. We need to act like we don't need them. We need to stop acting like we don't need them. I'm sorry.
Talk about it.
And really learn from the things they went through. They went through a whole hell of a lot more than we did.
Absolutely.
They did. And we really need to, if for nothing else, for them, really push forward and do more for those that come after us. Because, man, if not now, when? When?
Ageism, I never thought that I would use that word as much as I've been forced to kind of recognize it and use it, I'd say in the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this notion that it's almost a age envy that we face from a certain part of the newer generation. Right. The whole term old head. And obviously someone that was seen, let's say 20 years ago, as a hard head was someone who did not respect the knowledge of someone who literally have been there and done whatever it is you're going through.
Right.
But now there seems to be a complete rejection of wisdom. And
why? For what?
I think it's several factors. You know, I think it's as are human beings, there's always several factors. I think one of them is because based on the fact that so many of us have, which I believe we discussed in past, so many of us have been incarcerated. The other percentage of us have, speaking about males specifically, because you hear a lot of males really voicing this this mindset of rejecting elder.
Right.
You know, we're young, it's a new time.
Right. You
guys don't know how it is nowadays.
Right.
Which is something, if we think about it, we never would have sat down and had a talk with our grandmother or grandfather and actually, in our right mind, told them that. Cause
true.
It's just, we still had a sense of the purpose of respect.
Right.
But since, again, a lot of us, drugs, prison, early death, not to mention those that have left households, right? There's a lot of envy set up there. Right. There's a lot of anger and a lot of hurt. Right. From a lot of our youth. Right. So that's at least one aspect. And then not to mention, just in brief, the ability to become financially successful in this social media platform has really, and being able to create a new lane, as many of these young people have created, without having to ask for our understanding. Right. They didn't understand that there's a backdrop to that. Right. Which we're also seeing as well. Right. It looks good. Yeah. You made it. Yeah. 1 year. You went triple platinum 1 year. Yeah. But now you're in the feds. You went double platinum 1 year. But now where you just got your face cut, and there's a lot of different places you can't go anymore. Because you didn't listen to the old head. Oh. You should listen to the old head. The people that have actually walked literally where you've been. Right. And if they love you, they only telling you because they want to make your journey a little bit more smoother to make our struggle not be in vain. Right. Absolutely. Were you seeing that old Kodak Black stuff? Kodak Black, man. Kodak Black. So I don't remember word for word verbatim what this dude said, but it was on his live, I guess it was on IG, something to the effect of, Lauren London, you can come and cry on my shoulder or something. I'll give you some time to get over, you know, the loss of Nipsey and everything. But he was just mad disrespectful. Mad disrespectful. Man not even in the ground yet. And right. Cat's got at him. Talking about she out here a whole widow. Yeah, that's what he said. She's out here a whole widow. I'll give her some time to grieve. Who says shit like that? Well, this cat's wild. Clearly a lack of respect. And on one hand, you tend to kind of give pity. On one hand, initially, I guess the initial thing is anger, which we all heard from the majority of people. I think several artists spoke out on it. Tank spoke out on it.
I know T.I. did.
T.I. spoke out on it. The brother from Philly spoke out on it. BG Knockout, Compton spoke
Big
out.
Boy. Big Boy.
Several people.
Too. Yeah.
It's been going on. It's been going on for quite some time.
Stations are pulling his music.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's important not to stop him from being successful, but to encourage the need for being, for having respect and dignity and tact.
Right.
Right.
Because music getting pulled, that's his own fault. So he's stopping himself from becoming successful, first of all. But yeah, man, learn some respect. Like you said, poor man isn't even in the ground yet.
Literally.
Wow.
Hadn't even had a funeral yet.
Which is and that's going to be at the Staples Center because it's going to be so big.
Huge.
Yeah. Michael Jackson's funeral was there, wasn't it, at the Staples Center?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great because, for any person who has a life or has lived any aspects of their lives involved with gangs or anything like that, any attempt that you've ever made, for one, you don't want to lose your sense of self. You don't want to act once you become successful like you no longer know the people who you went through the struggle with.
Right.
And so, for me, it's real honorary to see a person who was literally willing to walk out. And he understood, Nipsey understood that he could lose his life in this community, for sure.
He absolutely knew that.
Right? But he pressed that line to show that it can be done, And so on one hand, it's like, you hear a lot of people saying, you can't live in a community no more once you become famous and things along those lines. Yeah, there's certain things we can't involve ourselves with. Right. But there are always, hindsight is always 20/20. But by God, in this situation, there is an excellent blueprint that is left. There's a fantastic legacy that is left, to where if we're going to mimic anybody as it pertains to the music game, fame, fortune coming from the hood, he has a format to follow. Because the fact is that if we all on the same team, if the majority, we'll never all be, but if the majority of us on the same team, these things will happen a lot less.
Right. Absolutely.
And a lot more growth will take place, because there's always going to have to be sacrifice. Facts.
Man, it's so sad. It's so sad that the brother had to die for us to learn. Like, tragedy always has to strike for us to wake up and say, okay, look, stop playing. Unfortunately, he allowed himself to be a sacrifice. Because like you said, he knew there was a risk, but his vision was that big.
Right.
Who would have known he would have had this kind of impact? Everywhere you read, you see everybody talking about Nipsey Hussle right now.
Absolutely.
Everywhere you read.
Absolutely.
Even me, myself, going back and finding music that I hadn't heard.
Right.
Way back, going back 10 years, finding stuff.
Right.
And he was always talking about what he talked
Same
about
thing.
now. As well as the life that he was living, because that's his story. You're supposed to tell that.
Absolutely.
And, not everybody's story is roses and daisies. It was coming from the struggle. Doing the best they can to survive. But still had a big vision, though. Like, I'm not trying to stay in this.
No. And I'm not ashamed of this.
And I'm not ashamed of this. And hopefully this will help someone.
I looked at his visual, and to be honest, the visual itself didn't appeal because of the obvious Snoop Dogg comparisons. Same stature.
I did when I very, very, very first saw Nipsey Hussle and heard him. Yes. I was like, is this Lil Snoop?
Right.
Snoop's cousin or something? I did. Yeah, I did.
Right. And so the game is, in fact, has been infiltrated by so many perpetrators and You know, you got so many wannabe Lil Wayne lookalikes and
Right.
all these guys, you know, Future lookalikes and,
Mm-hmm.
you know, wannabe Drakes and wannabe this. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, nobody, to be honest, I'm such a music fanatic. I don't really like hearing the pretenders.
Right. You like originality.
Yeah.
Of course.
But once, about 4 years ago now, and he's been out for, actually, I heard some of his stuff, but I was at a stage in my life where I wasn't listening to much of anything as it pertained to, you know, rap, period. I just,
Really?
Yeah. I had to separate myself
Really?
in order to separate myself.
I feel For how long? How long did you not listen?
I went through about a 5-year period.
Oh, wow. What were you listening to?
A lot of gospel that was like J. Moss. You know, the closest thing to R&B. Oh, a lot of Lecrae. I jumped into Lecrae real tough.
Okay.
I jumped into Biz real tough, and the whole 116 movement real tough. Things that I needed to hear to encourage me to move the direction
Gotcha.
I wanted to move in.
Gotcha.
Because I was too tied into, I couldn't listen to things that held me captive.
Right.
Period. I wasn't strong. It wasn't about what they were doing wrong. I wasn't strong enough.
Right. So you started listening to a little bit of gospel to outsmart your old self?
Absolutely.
Yeah. that
You
was part of it.
Reinvention.
Right.
Right?
Right.
A renewing of the mind. It's
Right.
real. It's for some it comes with, I mean, I told my child and I tell my children, period, if you allow yourself to stay in position, right, you will find the success you're looking for. But sometimes our actions can take ourselves out of position to where you won't be allowed to flourish into what it is that you're destined to be.
Man.
So if we have a problem, right? Yeah, so sometimes you have to eliminate the things, the conversations, the circumstances and situations that prevent you from going where you need to go. And that was important. I was convicted by hearing things that I was still enslaved to.
Right. I hope my nephew's listening to this. I hope he has a way or has access to be listening to this right now, even though we went through what we went through, because why? He needs a mindset change. Maybe he needs to separate himself from some things.
See my nephew Benzo on there right now.
What's up, nephew Benzo?
Hey. That's important. Separation.
It is.
Challenge. It's a challenge.
Because can't nobody improve you but you. You can be influenced and motivated, but to actually take the action to get better and be better, think better, be a better human being, can't nobody do that for you, bruh. You got to do that. You got to do that.
That's that man up, woman up time, right? I'll tell you, since I was talking to one of my brothers the other day, and you know, when I'm telling my story, I mean, after 16 years, you can't eliminate that whole block of my life. That's too much of a, right? And too much was learned. Too many blessings came out of the situation to not mention.
Right.
But I was talking to one of our brothers the other day, and this relates specifically to Nipsey and how I can definitely understand the challenges that he took upon. And my brother, you know, so there's this notion that once you are incarcerated, right, that it's easy to all of a sudden have a relationship with God, no matter what religion or spirituality you're part of, like that's the place where people go and all of a sudden they become religious. But the reality is that when you're put in a position where you're around a bunch of your peers, it's actually just the opposite. It's very
more challenging,
difficult. Of course.
Yeah.
People are trying to hold you accountable to your old self.
Right. So they want you to react how your old self would
Absolutely.
when they bring the bullshit, basically.
So as we're trying to die to self and renew our minds, there are people that are continuously reminding you of how you were and how you used to be.
Right.
And I relate that to Nipsey Hussle because the strength that it takes for him to continuously strive. I mean, I can assure you that he lived a life where he packed pistols. And he clearly could have had a pistol on him.
Oh, yeah.
And that young man took advantage of the fact that he did not have a pistol on him. But it was a sacrifice that needed to be made because what that tells me, because he also spoke on it, so I'm not just speaking from, I think this is how he was thinking.
Right.
He understood that he had a history with the police, that he was buying up the entire block right? And that he was the face of the situation and the centerpiece of the situation. And so the last thing he needed to do was put himself in a situation where he could get caught with a gun and blow everything for everybody.
Right.
So he actually speaks about that. I can't think of a particular song right now, but he speaks about how much time you get behind getting caught with a gun. And so he died thinking about other people, because it certainly wasn't because he didn't understand how a gun could protect you in the community. He definitely understood that.
Right.
He's definitely been through wars. He's definitely
he spoke about it in all his music.
Right. So it wasn't that.
Sure.
He made choices and was willing to sacrifice himself.
Man.
He was willing.
Man.
In order to stay in a position to clothe people, in order to stay in a position to give jobs to people that are still on parole. Which he did. And they couldn't have guns on. You can't be the owner packing a gun.
Right.
Up in the store.
Right.
You can't. So they actually said he had like a ordinance where you just couldn't have guns there. Sacrifice. Right. So man ain't willing to live for something, and,
And I know I talked about it before, but what he was doing was helping a brother that had just done a 20-year bid, getting him clothes. That's what he was doing.
That's major. To stay in tune with that.
Right.
To stay in tune with your community.
Right.
To that degree.
To care that much. When so many cats is like, I'm out. There's only so many cars you can drive and jewels you can wear and stuff. I mean.
Absolutely.
He was able to do that too, but it was so much bigger than him. He was so much about community. He cared about people.
Right.
Not enough of that.
I really hope we not only give Nipsey his full respect, but the next thing, and I'll be pushing it on every platform that I'm able, that we do need to start really honoring people that are doing that now.
Right. Now, we don't have to wait until they're gone and then like we just did, and just like, wow, the more I read, the more I see, the more I'm like, man, this brother, what he was doing was huge. Because there are people that are doing it right now. There are.
His buying up his community and starting stores, in reality, I'm in the same boat with everybody else. But the reality is there should be posts made about that, and it should go viral. Not simply someone getting shot, not simply someone disrespecting those that are no longer with us. Right? We need to start celebrating, because the fact of the matter is there are people. It's not. You have some people pulling stunts. They're going out giving bums $5,000 and stuff like that. There is total Instagram on live. Right. We give them. They go viral. We give them 500,000 likes or maybe 2 million likes, and right. And they're telling you it's visual proof that they've given back. And then you have some people who live their lives like that.
Right.
And if you care enough, right, about these artists, let's make it to where our being successful as a culture, when I speak of culture, not only African American, but as a hip hop culture, let's make it successful to live successful.
Right. Rather
than totally glorify, egregious or outrageous or, indignant behavior.
It's my daughter right now.
Absolutely. Nipsey.
Oh, hey, Cassandra. Oh, okay. Hold on a second.
So talk to us. What y'all got to say as we continue? We have quite a bit to discuss, but as y'all continue, I'd like to begin the process on these lives to integrate and to have questions, whether you tap in with me temporarily or whatever, what have you, right? I want you to, I'm going to really start pushing this YouTube, Roland Morris YouTube, Romo Boss YouTube. I'm going to start pushing that a lot more, just because I do want to do whatever is necessary to make use of the platform and just the opportunity for people to discuss things that we can't discuss on an everyday basis, right? A lot of these topics you can't talk about at work. People don't want to talk. It's not really, the thing to do to speak politics at work. Right? You can't really waste a lot of time. A lot of times when we're around our family and friends, everybody don't have the opportunity. But I really do want to create and be a part of creating platforms for us to truly be able to discuss, interact on a level to where there's dignity involved and some real life game involved, to where we can really inspire one another. Because the truth is, when I see any of my folks who I love that's on here, when you support anything that have to do with doing what's right, I'm completely appreciative, and your input, it matters without doubt. Which is why I'm over here with my folks right now on this lounge talk. They're doing this podcast. They're reaching thousands nationwide. This is an opportunity to spread what's real. So y'all make sure y'all feel free. Tap in.
Oh, there we go. All right, I'm back. My daughter and my grandbaby are here. They just
What a
popped
blessing.
in. Yeah, man.
How many you got now?
Just one. Just one. That's all I need.
Youngster.
That's all I need. But
Is that all?
She was over here the other night wearing me and El Boogie out because she has so much energy all night. Nana, Papa.
How old is she?
She's almost 3.
Whoa.
She'll be 3 the end of this month.
Whoa.
Yeah. She's so smart. She's funny. Funny little girl.
Got to reach them while they're young, because they grow
Man.
fast. They move fast.
I know it.
Absolutely.
I know it. I've been seeing you and all your family, all your grandkids and stuff. Boy.
6.
Boy, oh boy. 6 of them?
Just had a beautiful baby, a granddaughter on the 3rd.
Oh, congratulations.
Pawpaw's Reese's Cup. Yeah, Amarise.
What's her name?
Amarise Imani.
Oh,
Absolutely.
that's beautiful.
Yes.
That is so pretty. Yeah, they are a blessing though, man.
Great blessing.
Make us get it together.
Right.
Get it together.
Right.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to touch on, just because when I think of my grandbabies, the truth is that's one of those things. It keeps me. They've been my motivation. My children, my children's children have been my motivation for quite a long time. When I didn't really have much directly before me to hold on to, I just thought about, like the opportunity to, be there to see my grandchildren born, or
Right.
the opportunity to take them to the movies, or the opportunity to take them to the park, right?
Yeah.
And so obviously those are things that you enjoy doing, but there's more to it that we want to pass down,
Yep.
right? There's just more to it.
There's a whole lot more.
Yeah. And, as it pertains to, just family period. And, I really say that, people, they stretch for answers about why our communities are in the condition they're in. And again, I don't claim to be perfect. And Nipsey Hussle.
Me neither.
And if you have any self-awareness, you should not proclaim on any level to be perfect. But the thing is that no matter where you are, there are people that you're in a position to influence. Right? And so we continue to strive to be a better self, no matter what. You know what I mean? By any means necessary. You strive to be better. And so you think about them grandbabies, it's like, I see my grandbabies, and even a lot of people that don't know me maybe as well as you all know me, they never would assume that I would have the background that I've had.
Right. Oh, I know it. If I were to meet you today, and you sat up here and told me, the time that you did and everything that you used to go through and do,
Right.
I'd have a hard time believing you. I'd be like, no way.
So even though you beat yourself down, when we think about our yesterdays and past, it's like, you know what? I don't care what you say about me today, because the fact is that I know I ain't the person I was yesterday, and that's what matters.
Right. And something to be proud of, that you're not that person.
Absolutely.
Because, that person still is in there and made you who you are today, because those experiences help shape you. And like you're saying, to not be ashamed of what you came from. However, wise enough to know that that's not where you want to stay.
Straight up.
Straight up. Straight up.
Right on back to what my boy, and I'm gonna give him his props on every level, because again, the man ain't even been put in the ground yet, and I just, I believe anything heroic, honorary is worthy of respect. And again, this young man come from a gang background, right?
Yeah.
Been involved with feuds, been involved with drugs, been in jail, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But yet, he never gave up on representing humility, the importance on giving, not only to one individual, back to your community. And at the end of the day, it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, we're going to all go some kind of way. But if you go, make sure you go in a way. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to pass in your youth like a young man, God forbid, and is 33 years old. But at the end of the, when you look at what's going on in our society and our community as a whole, like most people aren't aware, let's just say in this example, in South Central LA, in his particular community, the week that he was murdered, 26 other people have been shot, and 10 other people have been killed within the perimeter of his area.
Wow, really? I did not know that. Oh man.
26.
26?
Yeah.
Damn.
And we have the ability now to really look these things up. 26 folks were shot, 10 were murdered within his immediate community the week prior.
Wow.
So of course he was aware of that because he was in tune with his community.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, like I say, it's not really fair to go back and Monday morning quarterback and say, this is what he should have did. Right. Again, learn from our choices, not just by calling them mistakes, but just learn. I ask for any of my family or friends that have witnessed anything, if you seen me make a mistake, or if you've seen something I could have done different, it doesn't have to be a mistake, if you see something I could have done different, but you know what direction I'm headed, when you go that same direction, you find yourself in that same position, act accordingly.
Yep.
Behave differently.
Yep.
Right? Defeat your old self and your old way of, don't allow, that's the number one way to really keep somebody's memory, or allow someone that's murdered or killed in the streets to not let them go in vain.
Right.
You change the situation.
Right. Change your way of thinking.
I admire that.
If you're feeling yourself envious or jealous of somebody and what somebody has, all that's telling you is that you need to up your own levels. You need to step your own game up. And it's not impossible. Stop feeling like there's no hope for you. But it starts with some tough self-work that you ain't ready to do, but you need to get ready. In these days and times, get ready to do so. Because that feeling of jealousy and envy, you don't want to feel that. You want to be one to inspire.
Right.
Jealousy and envy, that ain't going to get you nothing.
Right.
And cold thing is like, right there in his community, but how about it's right there sometime in your own family?
Oh.
You
show hit on it there.
So the shit ain't how it's supposed to be. I don't have any kind of hate, jealousy, envy, or anything for anybody, not one person in this world, in this life. I want to see everyone succeed.
Right.
Even if there's things about you or some of your choices that I might not really, move like that or approve of, I don't wish anything ill on anyone, anybody. Period. At all. Not even a little flick of the nose, turn the nose up at somebody for anything. I don't have one shred of that in me. Shouldn't be in you either. If it is, you need to check yourself. Do better.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Personal change and is the greatest gift I believe you can give anybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's nothing like it. There's nothing that matches that feeling. Because, speaking of old self, my old self was naive in a lot of ways.
Okay.
And, I can be honest and not always making the right choices myself. I did what I needed to do to take care of, my daughter and daughters later on down the road. But just in them younger days, because I was only 16 when I had my oldest daughter that's in there right now, that made me the young grandmama I am. I didn't know a lot, but I was doing the best I could with what I had. And you just learn from those experiences. I can remember different times, different seasons in my life where I started to really say, okay, I need to push and I need to do this. And I watched my life start to improve, my life change.
Absolutely.
And I can remember times being young, just getting on the hustle, just me and her. She's little. I'm dropping her off at daycare 4 a.m. in the morning and going to work. I didn't want to have to do that, but I also didn't want to have to live in my mama and daddy's house with all the rest of the relatives and siblings and nieces and nephews and whatnot that was sleeping on floors. I was like, no.
That ain't happening.
That ain't happening. And when I think about it, it's like, it's that same mode that you need to kick into at every different level when you're like, okay, it's time to go to the next phase, to the next chapter, to the next level. You got to kick in gear like that. Something has to wake up in you to say that, like, okay, I want more for me. I want more for my family.
Right.
I want more. Right. And you just kick into that hustle.
Absolutely.
You kick into it. It's a mode.
So you pretty much answered when you were pulling out of me about what it takes to make that change.
It's that.
That's what it's about right there.
It's that feeling, that desire got to get that strong that you want more for your life. You want more. That got to really kick in so tough that you can't stand to just think about 5 years down the road being in the same place that you're in right now. You won't allow it. You won't allow it.
Absolutely.
You won't. Yeah, it's going to be
to allow that season of our lives to go in vain, to where it's just like here we are going through a bunch of struggle, and we come out of a situation and we just continuously do the same thing, the way you would describe insanity.
Right, and expecting different results.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. It's not possible. It's not possible. Yeah.
That's the word. If ain't nothing the word. That's the word. And it's and again, it's a challenge, especially. So we talk about living in the hood, and for people that grew up, and even if you make it successfully financially to where you don't have to be in the hood anymore, you still have the understanding of what it means to be connected in such a way where it's not so easy to get out of that way of thinking. Right. And so many of us, I can say that my struggle in terms of my desire, my desire to reach people and to minister to people and to encourage people, right, through not only through Christ or spirituality, but it's in me, period, to just be helpful, right, period, right. But one thing is for certain is that the only way to really thoroughly be effective in a way that actually alters lives is if you humble yourself enough to stay connected. Right. That part. You still, and it's not about compromise, but then again, there is some sacrifice that is necessary in order to stay connected. Right. You have to make yourself vulnerable in certain areas. Exactly. You can't make people think that you're over the top holier than thou, or over the top intelligent to where I have all business choices and shit I haven't made because I was so smart. How about that? How about acting like you ain't, acting like you never made a mistake and now you come from a judgmental place when you're seeing people make some of the same mistakes that you probably made. You just gonna act like that you didn't exist? So that's when you do remember that old self. That's when you do not be ashamed of that old self. Because next thing you know, you up here, like you said, on a pedestal, and you can't reach people. Absolutely. You can't teach people. You're not even trying to because you just glorifying yourself so tough. Absolutely. That's the other problem that we see. Got to get off that. I was telling Nell Boogie earlier, and I'm sure you may or may not hear that baby. She want her grandma. Ah. That's right. Early on, as making music, it was a real dilemma for me because I never really wanted to promote the things that I was doing at the time. And so I found myself always in that dilemma of not having the most confidence I could have because I really didn't feel good just talking about the things that I was really doing. Right. I always had to, that's in much part how I took up on my grandfather's name, which is my name as well, but my real name, Morris, Mr. Mo. My grandfather actually goes by Mr. Mo. Okay. Who turned 88
I
last
saw
week.
that picture.
Yeah. He
Of
actually
that
came
young
down.
man.
Yeah, he actually
I
came.
saw that young man.
That young man came down today again.
Did he?
Yeah, he drove on down. So
Wow.
but what it did is it challenged me to be accountable and to not give up on developing the side of me that know what's right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just never really got in a place where I separated myself to where I could stay true to the people I know I wanted to reach,
Mm-hmm.
but then not allow myself to be overcome by the things that I was doing.
Right.
So my juggling game was not, which is how I ended up being in a position where I was incarcerated for all them years.
Right.
Because basically I wasn't letting out and I wasn't venting because I was convicted.
Right.
Right? And so in this situation, for all the young men, and again, I give honor. I had a long, we were kind of joking about it, but then again, on the same token, I was serious. We were talking about some kind of way it just boiled into a conversation. And I don't like to, it's not about placing people against one another, but about sometimes you just have to compare, So you may ask who's better, the 85 Bears or the 2001, New England Patriots, right? Sometimes just in order, when you see greatness, sometimes we compare greatness, right? The whole Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, right? So we're talking about Tupac in comparison to a Snoop Dogg.
Right.
And my cousin, she really didn't thoroughly, I don't think at the time, understand where I was coming from as I began to speak about what I not only believe, but what I see in Snoop Dogg. Everyone knows the vision that Tupac had.
Absolutely.
The revolutionary mindset that he had. Right? The ideals that he had they were completely futuristic and inspiring, to say the least. We look at the history of Snoop Dogg and we see that this is a man of the people.
Absolutely. When you look at the evolution of Snoop Dogg,
I mean,
are still keeping that same personality. Who else that could be up on a show with a Martha Stewart?
Crippin'.
I got Martha hitting his weed. Martha probably be bringing him weed.
Certainly.
Probably.
Certainly, I'm sure she's.
Yeah.
They're friends.
Yes, they be putting a little bit of, they make edibles.
They're
together.
business partners.
You know what kind of brownies they be eating.
Right.
But him still being himself.
And giving back to his
community.
community.
Giving back to the community.
Putting all of his homeboys on, making them, not just allowing them to be on one of his songs one time.
Right.
But he actually made platinum artists out of all those guys. Right. And, and so when you think he beat a murder trial, what I mean by beat, meaning not beat as in he did it, he got away with it, but I'm saying he's endured some struggle.
Absolutely.
Right? He's endured all the issues that come along with the music business, coming from Death Row.
Man.
Right?
Yeah, even getting through that situation.
And he's navigated all the way up until now, almost 30 years, and he's actually still current on every level.
Absolutely is.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about, if you really you speak about the wisdom and the intelligence, if you compare those two, for one, it's not even fair because Snoop Dogg is almost 50, and Snoop Dogg and Tupac passed it in his early 20s.
Yeah, and we didn't get the opportunity to. Yeah, he didn't even get to see it through.
But their vision,
it's the same.
Yeah, and you have to give credit where credit's due.
Absolutely.
Snoop Dogg didn't come. He was actually out there gang banging as well. Huh? And he actually maintained a certain level of gang banging up until this day.
Oh yeah, in the music.
To the point where clearly he inspired Nipsey Hussle. Clearly.
For sure.
Clearly.
For sure.
Doesn't take a genius to even see it.
For sure.
And so, even though we may look and, like I say, we may be able to say, oh, he does this or he does that. But for anyone who's come from that lifestyle, one of the number one things you want to do is you want to prove to people, once you realize what you're in, because most of us never realized why we got into the things we got into. But then you reach a point where you realize what you're in, and you want people to know that I'm not stupid, that being involved in, being a blood or being a Crip, it doesn't mean that I'm dumb. It doesn't mean that I want to go kill everybody wearing the opposite color. It doesn't mean I want to sell drugs for the rest of
Right.
my life. It doesn't mean that I can't read that good or I didn't do well in school. Actually, I'm very intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so then you start going back to the original meanings of, what the Crips and the Blood started at, and it's all about giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm. And about family.
It's
And
about
he, and he was
family.
another one that did not want to stay in that situation. He didn't want to stay in it. Most OGs that you talk to, they will tell you, don't try to be like me. Don't do what I've done.
A real OG.
A real OG will tell you that. Learn from my mistakes.
Learn from my mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we need to get back to, and not being so quick to to just be dismissive of people with whom when you think about many of the remedies that have helped us, and I'm speaking now specifically about African Americans. A lot of the remedies that grandma and passed. It's like soul food. It's like passing down a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
We should not be in a time now where people are like, grandma didn't really know how to, great grandma, she didn't really know how to make fried chicken that good. She don't, we make collard greens different now. She don't know how collard greens are made now. They different now. We got better seasoning now.
You ain't lying.
Huh?
Right.
They don't know how to make a sweet potato pie.
Mm-mm.
She didn't have the type of yams we got now.
Right.
It sounds silly,
Right.
don't it?
That sounds crazy.
But that's what we be doing.
Yeah, you're right.
We make it like
You're
like
right.
they didn't go through it and do what they went through in
Right.
order to, like they didn't
Right.
sacrifice. Many of people made sacrifices to put us in the position that we're in today.
Absolutely. So, what we gonna do now? What we gonna do about it? I know for us, when we speak it on our platforms and people that we come into contact every day, and that's important to do too, just to continue that mindset, and it just walks with you as who you are.
Right.
But then, even greater than that is be that example, live that.
The best you can be.
The best you can. The best you can.
I'm sure many of people that was not aware of, let's just say again, a Nipsey Hussle. He walk into a store, and the way he was dressed. Actually, when he was assassinated, I mean, I think we did speak about it earlier. He looked like he could have been a Blood Gang member.
Mm-hmm. He had on red shirts,
Right.
shorts,
So
and a white
he was
t-shirt.
representing. I'm not about all of that.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it just, and so that's, I know from my background that making such a move, and then you look at somebody's career like that, you see ultimately how they was living their life, and you just can't allow yourself to be discouraged by how other people perceive you.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of,
Mhm.
right? That's
Mhm.
again right on back to
Mhm.
defeating and overcoming your old self on
Mhm.
every level.
Mhm.
Right? You have to believe in yourself when nobody else believes in you.
Yeah.
Because it's going to always be, we're going to always be in a position, somebody can always sit back and look at you and be able to see what you don't do right.
Always. Always. If you want to pick somebody apart all day, you can do that. It's funny you say that because I had somebody at work, and just yesterday, she was talking to me about another employee that it basically is a slacker, right?
Okay.
Without giving away too much information about my job, everyone has worked with somebody that's a slacker, right?
Yeah.
And you notice it, but you don't let that determine your work ethic, or at least you should not. Your work ethic should be what it is and not decided by somebody else, right?
Absolutely.
So this girl's like every day for the past week has been telling me things about the slacker, right? And at first I'm like, well, if I address it, she's gonna know that it came from you. So do you want me to, or you want to?
Yeah. Yeah, you want that out there
you
like
wanna
that.
do.
Right.
And so it's kind of, the answer is like none of the above, right? And I'm like, okay, so then you're just sharing, okay. And so yesterday, after like probably the 5th day straight of her complaining about the slacker, I was like, look, you can either continue to notice and notate the shortcomings of this other individual and stay focused on everything that they ain't doing well, or you could channel that energy into becoming your best self. Yeah, you're going to still notice it.
Right.
You're going to still notice the people around you
Right.
that ain't trying to level up, that are content, that are stagnant in what they're doing. But
Right.
if you keep paying too much attention to it, you may be hindering yourself from getting to where you want to go. So don't stay focused on it.
Agreed.
Don't stay focused on it.
Agreed.
And people do that all too often. Like, look at her, she this and that. Look at her shoes and look at her this
Right.
and that and that. She ain't taking care of her kids right and this
Right.
and that and that and that and that. All of that may be true. However, how focused you gonna stay on it? That's your like daily topic of conversation all day, every day, talking about somebody else and what they ain't doing. We don't have time for that.
No.
We don't. You gonna notice it? Sure. Are you correct in what you're observing? Absolutely. But how much energy do you want to put into talking about it?
What a waste.
Paying attention to it? Like, think about how much time you spend every day on it. And how much more you could have redirected that into some kind of self-development or something like that. I'm so
Absolutely.
off in 2019 and what everybody else ain't doing. I am. I'm sorry.
That take a whole lot of strength, you know.
It does. It
Yeah,
does because
yeah.
I mean, as humans, we talk shit sometimes
Right.
about people and just like, Lord, look at this
Right.
one. You know, I mean, we do that.
Right.
We do that sometimes, but when you are trying to improve yourself, right? You do got to get to that space where that's just not important enough to keep on talking about. You don't even have the time in the day.
Exactly.
You don't have the time in the day because you're so purpose driven that you're on. Okay, I got to get this done. I got to do this. I got to do this real quick. I got to do this. And oh yeah, I seen that. Somebody bring it up to you. Yeah, I did notice that. Yeah, so I'm working on this. I want
Right.
to bring you on board with this. Have you
Right.
heard about this?
Right.
Yeah. How can we get together, us like-minded individuals, and figure out how we're gonna be better? So in 2020, we might be talking about some serious leveling up that we just did,
Absolutely.
and then we want to stay on that.
Absolutely.
We want to stay on that, and just.
It reminds me. It reminds me. And again. Don't worry, we gonna get this. It ain't that y'all ain't going nowhere.
There you go.
I think that'll do it right here. Look
Got
at
it?
my cousin Sarah.
Got it. Okay.
Joe, what it do, man? Oh my God.
I think that's the Lord's way of telling us that we're gonna take a
quick break.
A quick break.
We're gonna take a break.
You guys have been listening to episode number 83 of the Lounge Talk Podcast with your girl Ann Carter, DJ L Boogie, and
Roll Lazy,
Roll
aka you know.
Mr. Mo.
Huh?
Yeah.
We signing out.